That means within 6 months after an indictment is issued.
Count on ABC News for continuing coverage of the federal indictment with more details ahead on America This Morning.
Well, now to the morning's other major story, the unhealthy conditions from that Canadian wildfire smoke. Philadelphia's public schools are going virtual today, so children don't have to go outside. And tomorrow's Belmont Stakes is no guarantee, depending on conditions around New York. ABC's Trevor Ault has more.
That monster plume of wildfire smoke spreading deeper into the U.S. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania hitting 491 on the air quality index's 1 to 500 scale, even worse than New York City's 484 on Wednesday. In Washington, D.C., the city's first code purple air quality advisory, signifying very unhealthy air.
When they told me it was code purple, I thought it was getting better. So we're not even used to this language to deal with this type of air quality.
The White House forced to postpone a Pride event on the South Lawn that some 2,000 people were set to attend. In Newark, New Jersey, the state's largest school district canceling all classes. Health officials warning continued exposure to the particulates in the air is especially harmful to young children.
This is because they breathe more air relative to their size and are more active than most adults.
Parents now told to watch for signs like chest pain, shortness of breath, and wheezing. And the source of the smoke, those wildfires burning in Canada. President Biden speaking with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, promising to send more air tankers and any additional help they need to put out the fires, calling them a stark reminder of the impacts of climate change.
And New York's governor says they'll be sending forest rangers to Canada, joining firefighters from other border states like New Hampshire and Maine. And while New York City's air quality is clearly improving, it's still registering in the top 5 worst major cities in the world. Trevor Ault, ABC News, New York.
Trevor, thank you. There's no widespread relief from the smoke for several days. It drops across Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey today and down through D.C. into Virginia. Later today, the smoke reaches as far west as Louisville, Kentucky. Rain early next week is expected to push it all away.
One more weather item. Forecasters say a new El Nino has begun. That's when above average water temperatures develop in the Pacific. El Nino can mean rainy winters in the west. It can also suppress hurricane formation in the Atlantic.
Well, someone went on quite a shopping spree here in New York yesterday.
Some very expensive jewels were sold at auction, including a 55-carat ruby that sold for nearly $35 million. That's a new world record at auction for a ruby, or any colored gemstone sold at auction, really.
And another one, a diamond called the Eternal Pink, was also sold for nearly $35 million. My question is, what do they do with these jewels? Are they really going to wear it out like that?
I always wonder that myself. I think you put it in somewhat of a mantle, a trophy case.
You can't wear it out. It's like a target on your back.
I wouldn't know.
I will never know, too.
I will never know. Coming up, the new tool Texas hopes to use to reduce illegal border crossings.
And later, the high drama worthy of a Gosling summer blockbuster, the rescue video that's now going viral.
Loose is loose, and later in the skinny, she sang about her milkshake bringing all the boys to the yard. See who she's linked with now. You're watching World News Now.
But I have to charge. My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. I can teach you, but I have to charge.
Whenever news breaks.
Crushing families here in Poland.
Here in Kentucky, no match for the tornado. From Monterey Park, California, on the ground in Ukraine.
Reporting from Uvalde, Texas. ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine. Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail. From Kathmandu, Nepal.
Truckee, California, covering record snowfall.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
Here at this airport in Tampa, it's already shut down.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Reporting from Jerusalem.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is. We're going to take you there.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
This is the craziest story.
Amanda Lemon, Hollywood movie producer.
Lola Kent, reality star, Vanderpump Rules.
This is the juiciest time in reality show history.
How could I not have been smarter?
It was awful to everyone.
This is certainly the underbelly of Hollywood.
I have to put up a big fight.
I do hope he gets what he deserves.
The Randall Scandal. Love, Loathing, and Vanderpump. Only on Hulu.
Get ready, America. Every Friday.
The hottest trends, styles, and must-have. What's the right stuff to buy right now? I really love that. It's time to buy the right stuff.
Yes.
And save big time, too.
The right stuff.
Fridays on GMA. You're going to love it.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
Yeah. So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do? I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show. Do you remember exactly where you were when you found out about Scandival?
The biggest scandal that has ever happened in reality show history.
It's one giant incestuous pool of swapping spit and nonstop drama.
It is shocking. How was I so blind to this? Then I start noticing how close they actually were. I just never imagined Sandoval would have done that to Ariana.
Mind-blowing. Impact by Nightline. Now streaming on Hulu.
We're back with new efforts to reduce crossings at the southern border. Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced a $5.1 billion plan to put large buoys in the waters bordering his state and Mexico. The barriers will sit in the Rio Grande, jutting out about 4 feet out of the water. Webbing will prevent anyone from swimming underneath.
Joran Vandersloot, the main suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Natalie Holloway, appears in an Alabama court today. He's in the U.S. after being extradited from Peru, where he's serving a 28-year sentence for killing another woman. In Alabama, Vandersloot faces charges for allegedly demanding $250,000 from Holloway's mother. If convicted, he'll return to Peru to serve 15 more years, then be sent back to the U.S. to serve his sentence here.
Controversial TV evangelist Pat Robertson has died. He was best known as the ultra-conservative host of the 700 Club for 54 years. The public platform helped fuel a 1988 presidential run. He also made headlines with comments such as accusing Black Lives Matter of trying to destroy Christianity and warning Orlando it may face hurricanes because it hosted an LGBTQ event. Pat Robertson was 93.
Let's move to sports. The NBA Finals resume tonight, and Denver is looking to take a stranglehold on the series after its 15-point win in Game 3 Wednesday. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic both had triple-doubles as the Nuggets have a 2-1 lead now over Miami, but you can watch Miami tie it all back up tonight, right here on ABC.
You sound optimistic.
Oh, very optimistic. Never count the heat out.
When we come back, the latest actor to announce his retirement.
And the cringy part of Jeopardy. The skinny is next.
Do you remember exactly where you were when you found out about Scandal?
The biggest scandal that has ever happened in reality show history.
It's one giant incestuous pool of swapping spit and nonstop drama.
It is shocking. How was I so blind to this? Then I start noticing how close they actually were. I just never imagined Sandoval would have done that to Ariana.
Mind-blowing. Impact by Nightline, now streaming on Hulu.
This is where the newsmakers come first in the morning to be heard. America's #1 morning show.
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000. Yeah. Are you worried about going to jail?
You write that you had low-grade depression. How'd you get out of that?
Wherever the story, ABC's Good Morning America is right there.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yeah.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do? I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show. You never know what you're going to get on the show. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes, Whoopi! Is this mic on? Can you hear me out there?
Behind the scenes is always a better show.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial break.
Right, they don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into.
That day that we walked out, I treasured that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good.
Oh, yeah, baby. It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hollywood. This is the craziest story.
Amanda Lemon, Hollywood movie producer.
Lola Kent, reality star, Vanderpump Rules.
This is the juiciest time in reality show history.
How could I not have been smarter?
He was awful to everyone.
This is certainly the underbelly of Hollywood.
I have to put up a big fight.
I do hope he gets what he deserves.
The Randall Scandal. Love, Loathing, and Vanderpump. Only on Hulu.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. We begin tonight here in Buffalo, London, in Alaska, Uvalde, Kentucky, and Poland, Ukrainian refugees here in Warsaw. Did you ever have a conversation about an abortion? Is she lying? Do you have a political aspiration?
Absolutely.
You ready for this? You're going to deliver a show that will be remembered forever.
The press on me.
You are just a tough dad.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news, ABC News Live. Breaking news, exclusives, live reporting across the globe. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
Reporting from Chicago, I'm Alex Perez. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Time now for the skinny, starting with the major revelation from Heisenberg himself, Bryan Cranston.
The Breaking Bad star tells British GQ he's planning on retiring. Cranston tells the magazine he plans to do that temporarily in 3 years because he wants to spend more time with his wife.
Can't blame him for that. He's been pretty much everywhere since Breaking Bad. Killing it out there. Cranston says they'll relocate to a foreign country in a small village and brush up on their language, gardening, and culinary skills.
That sounds lovely.
Can they take me with them?
I know, that sounds
I
fantastic.
think he said he wants to retire basically by 2026. This is mini retirement here. And then come back full force.
And he wants to spend time with his wife. Love it.
All right, just getting started here is Ken Jennings, and he's getting real about what he calls the cringy part of Jeopardy that he never liked.
Yeah, this is a big revelation. The new host tells The New Yorker that he's not a fan of the show's contestant interviews.
Ken says the late, great Alex Trebek wasn't a fan either, saying Trebek also just wanted to keep the questions flowing.
Ken also said during his 74-game winning streak, it was getting increasingly hard to come up with clever stories about his life. I get that.
I do.
I like to hear about the contestants' personal lives.
I
Just
do,
a little bit.
I do too, a little bit, but also remember these contestants are real people.
Exactly.
Sometimes they're not, they're obviously not used to being on TV, so sometimes the interviews can feel a little
I get
cringy,
it.
so I totally understand this.
You
And it's up
speak
to
from
him.
real-world experience.
Right, yeah, it's up to him to like keep it flowing, and then you gotta transition and heel turn back to the game. It's tough.
Tough life of a game show host. Well, next to the Hollywood love connection nobody saw coming.
72-year-old Bill Murray appears to have a new love interest.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than yours. Damn right, it's better than yours. I could teach you, but I have to charge. My milkshake brings
We all remember that song. wrong. An insider tells the U.S. Sun that 43-year-old milkshake singer Kellis and the Ghostbusters actor have clearly hit it off and have been spending time together.
They might be dating. Murray recently mourned the loss of his ex-wife 2 years ago, and Kellis lost her husband, Mike Mora, just last year to stomach cancer. Speaking of milkshakes, so I think they will blend well together, and this could be one legendary couple.
Oh, that's a good one. Cute couple.
Glad they both found happiness.
Oh, finally, New York City Mayor Eric Adams has kicked off the Tribeca Film Festival by presenting his legendary co-founder, Robert De Niro, a key to the city.
De Niro calls it a wonderful surprise, naming a whole bunch of past mayors that did not give him a key, which is every single mayor, right up till Eric Adams. Where does he go first? What door does he unlock?
You want to keep on the good side of De Niro, that's for sure.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
Yeah. So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do? I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show. You never know what you're going to get on the show. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes, Whoopi.
Is this mic on? Can you hear me out there?
Behind the scenes, there's always a better show.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial break.
Right, they don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into.
That day that we walked out, I treasured that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good.
Oh, yeah, baby.
It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you remember exactly where you were when you found out about Scandival?
The biggest scandal that has ever happened in reality show history.
It's one giant incestuous pool of swapping spit and nonstop drama.
It is shocking. How was I so blind to this? Then I start noticing how close they actually were. I just never imagined Sandoval would have done that to Ariana.
Mind-blowing. Impact by Nightline. Now streaming on Hulu.
Do you remember exactly where you were when you found out about Scandival?
The biggest scandal that has ever happened in reality show history.
It's one giant incestuous pool of swapping spit and nonstop drama.
It is shocking. How was I so blind to this? Then I start noticing how close they actually were. I just never imagined Sandoval would have done that to Ariana.
Mind-blowing. Impact by Nightline. Now streaming on Hulu.
With so much happening these days, it's hard to keep up.
Things change hour by hour, minute by minute.
The historic weather that's now unfolding.
The worries on Wall Street.
We're bringing you the right now. Been a nationwide teacher shortage.
The right now look at the day ahead. An alert this morning for dog owners and the key takeaways from the biggest stories.
World News Now and America This Morning, America's #1 early morning news.
Today does feel a little different.
Early mornings on ABC News Live.
GMA 7A. This morning, the one and only Samuel L. Jackson is in the house.
You gotta love it.
Plus, get ready to laugh with Jason Alexander, Eric McCormick, Alex Moffat, and Lily Cooper. Only on Tell 'em Sam.
Good morning, America.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights.
Catch us if you can. Catch us if you can. Catch us if you can. Catch us if not one, not two, but 3 expert catches played out in the nation's capital.
It was high stakes and high drama, and now it's going viral.
It was a humongous problem for a certain Gosling. No, not that Gosling.
That's a fact. It's not a line.
This Gosling. National Geographic writer Doug Main found himself in the middle of a major drama right outside Nat Geo headquarters in Washington, D.C.
Behind me, you can see 2 adult geese. They have nested here for at least the past 5 years, and they tend to lay eggs in this little terraces we have behind me, you can see. And they laid eggs in their nest on the 3rd floor.
But then the drama, worthy of an actual Ryan Gosling summer blockbuster.
The goslings actually have to jump off to get down. 2 of them have jumped off, but the 3rd gosling is still up there. And so the parents are behind me honking, trying to encourage the young gosling to jump off.
It was enough to give just about everybody inside the building goosebumps.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. No. This hurts, though. This is stressful. The wind is going to get him.
And then suddenly, a goost of wind.
Here we go.
Volunteers from City Wildlife managed to catch all 3 of those little goslings in nets on the ground. But little did they know, this was just the start of their journey.
So all of the goslings are down now, and we're just waiting to escort them to Constitution Gardens.
A roughly 1-mile walk that would have been treacherous for this feathered family without the help of these Good Samaritans.
In the wild, they would have to worry about predators, including, everything from foxes to bobcats to wolves to coyotes. In an urban environment, the biggest threat are cars.
She's tired.
We're so close, y'all. Just hang in there. Finally, we're almost there. No more streets to cross.
And finally, mission accomplished. And as they say, life goose on.
It's too much? Yeah, probably.
Oh, Maine says the experience was so fun and that he was glad he could be a part of it. Did you catch all the puns in that story?
Yeah, I had to check off all the ones I was going to say, which was pretty much every single one.
Kudos to the writer.
But I will say, though, this did happen in D.C., so, if something went wrong here, would it have been a federal offense?
That was one we missed. But when
yes,
that goose fell
it's okay.
down,
I know,
my
it's scary.
goodness.
By the way, that's right by our Washington, D.C. bureau, too.
Do you remember exactly where you were when you found out about Scandal?
The biggest scandal that has ever happened in reality show history.
It's one giant incestuous pool of swapping spit and nonstop drama.
It is shocking. How was I so blind to this? Then I start noticing how close they actually were. I just never imagined Sandoval would have done that to Ariana.
Mind-blowing. In fact, by Nightline, now streaming on Hulu.
Hollywood. This is the craziest story.
Hollywood movie producer.
Lola Kent, reality star, Vanderpump Rules.
This is the juiciest time in reality show history.
How could I not have been smarter?
He was awful to everyone.
This is certainly the underbelly of Hollywood.
I have to put up a big fight. I do hope he gets what he deserves.
The Randall Scandal. Love, Loathing, and Vanderpump. Only on Hulu.
With so much happening these days, it's hard to keep up.
Things change hour by hour, minute by minute.
The historic weather that's now unfolding.
The worries on Wall Street.
We're bringing you the Right Now. A nationwide teacher shortage.
The Right Now look at the day ahead.
An alert this morning for dog owners.
And the key takeaways from the biggest stories.
World News Now and America This Morning. America's #1 early morning news.
Today does feel a little different.
Early mornings on ABC News Live.
Bring them on.
If only there was a place in the morning to start my day. With a smile, somewhere to help me get in the know. A place that's spectacular as well. Me.
I think we might know a place, right, guys?
Bring your friends. Oh, wait, there is. Good morning, America. GMA, 7A, every day. Boom, boom, boom. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. Good morning, America. How are you?
Boom. Now that's how you start your day, people.
This morning on World News Now, the first president to ever face federal charges.
Former President Trump is reacting to the new blockbuster indictment against him. What he's saying is he prepares for a court appearance within days.
Also this morning, a stunning decision from the Supreme Court. 2 conservative justices joining the liberal justices to uphold the Voting Rights Act in an Alabama case. Why this ruling is likely to have a nationwide impact.
Plus, what the White House and State Department are saying about reports that China is building a base in Cuba in order to spy on the U.S.
And the Las Vegas family who says an 8-foot alien crashed in their backyard. A police body camera even capturing something, a green glow of an alleged UFO maybe? What's going on? It's Friday, June 9th.
From ABC News, this is World News Now.
Good Friday morning, everyone. Andrew Dimber joined alongside by Andrea from GE. We have that out-of-this-world story coming up, but we do want to begin, though, with that uncharted territory here on Earth. A former president charged at the federal level.
A federal grand jury has indicted Donald Trump on 7 charges linked to the documents investigation. Trump spoke out on social media, insisting he did nothing wrong and he intends to plead not guilty.
And looking live at downtown Miami, the federal courthouse just a few blocks from this camera, we'll see history next week, the first federal indictment of a former president. This morning, former President Trump is declaring his innocence in a new video, calling the federal indictment related to his handling of classified information a hoax.
So I just want to tell you, I'm an innocent man. I did nothing wrong. We will prove that very, very soundly and hopefully very quickly.
A special counsel appointed by the Justice Department has been investigating whether Trump violated the law or put national security at risk by holding on to documents marked classified at his Florida residence. Sources tell ABC News Trump faces 7 charges, including conspiracy and obstruction of the government's efforts to retrieve the documents. And at least 1 charge is related to the Espionage Act, which criminalizes anyone with unauthorized possession of national defense.
Which is ludicrous under the facts of this case, and I can certainly explain it. And several obstruction-based type charges, and then false statement charges, which are actually, again, kind of a crazy stretch just from the facts as we know it.
According to Trump's lawyer, his legal team has yet to see the actual indictment as of last night, only receiving a summons for Trump to appear for an arraignment next Tuesday in a federal courtroom in Miami.
His reaction was personal, but it wasn't. You know, he thought about it and he said, this is just a sad day. I can't believe I've been indicted. You know, those are kind of my summary words of what he had to say. But at the same time, he immediately recognizes the historic nature of this.
Last year, the FBI seized more than 100 documents with classified markings from Mar-a-Lago, along with 43 empty folders with classified banners after Trump failed to comply with a subpoena to return the records. Trump has claimed he declassified any material he took from the White House.
If you're the president of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it.
Sources say the indictment is expected to be a speaking indictment, meaning the government will lay out its case to the public in the Southern District of Florida, a venue known for its fast-moving proceedings.
This is not Manhattan. This is Miami, Florida. This is the Rocket Docket federal courthouse. We know that the marshals have been down there prepping for this, knowing this was a possibility.
The charges mark the second time Trump has been indicted since leaving office. Legal experts say the federal indictment in Miami is far more perilous than the charges from New York State in the so-called hush money case involving porn star Stormy Daniels.
We talk a lot about, well, there was the New York case also. I really do believe that case becomes secondary to this case. This one becomes much more significant. It becomes a much more overwhelming one. And this is where politics and law intersect.
If he's convicted, Trump faces possible prison time with maximum sentences ranging from 5 to 20 years.
Reaction in the political world mostly breaks down along party lines. Republican lawmakers say they stand behind the former president. Some, like Speaker Kevin McCarthy, vowing to, quote, hold this brazen weaponization of power accountable. Most Democrats are defending the indictment, saying nobody is above the law, but no word from the White House.
The indictment raises questions about Trump's bid for the White House.
Is it possible for a candidate to run while facing criminal charges? ABC's Derek Dennis joins us now. Good morning, Derek.
Good morning. Yeah, it is a big question mark. Can Trump campaign effectively while under indictment? It's an issue Trump will likely take up this weekend when he addresses the Georgia State Republican Convention. Trump is lashing out at the Biden administration, saying the indictment amounts to election interference. Technically speaking, the indictment comes from the Justice Department, which is separate from the White House. But ABC News political director Rick Klein says trying to manage a campaign while facing all his legal troubles won't be easy for Trump.
He tries to run for election while under indictment now in 2 different jurisdictions. There's still a third possible jurisdiction in Georgia. That means meeting court dates, finding timelines for appearances, obviously a lot of distraction in terms of talking to lawyers. You can imagine trying to build a campaign schedule around a court schedule in multiple jurisdictions in multiple states. Trump has his own plane, but he can't be in 2 places at once. And I think that's just a little window into how difficult it is to run while you're under very serious now criminal indictment.
Rick also tells us that there's nothing in the Constitution or in the law that would prevent Trump from running. In fact, he says there have been some minor party candidates, believe it or not, who have garnered votes from jail cells. So a lot to see here. Interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, the campaign is grueling on its own.
Right.
And now juggling 2 indictments makes it that much more difficult.
We're in historic territory for sure.
Thank you so much, Derek. Well, count on ABC News for continuing coverage of the Trump federal indictment with more reaction ahead on America This Morning.
It's being called a stunning decision from the Supreme Court. The justice is telling the state of Alabama to redraw its congressional district map to make it more fair. ABC's Terry Moran reports.
A Supreme Court stunner. 2 conservative justices, Chief Justice John Roberts and Brett Kavanaugh, joined the court's liberals in striking down Alabama's congressional map that critics said diluted the power of black voters. In a 5-4 decision, the court upheld a lower court ruling that found a redistricting map drawn by the Republican-led Alabama legislature violated the Voting Rights Act because it only drew 1 district out of 7 that had a majority of black voters, even though more than 1 in 4 Alabamians are black. In his opinion for the court, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote that the Voting Rights Act does not permit a state to provide some voters less opportunity to participate in the political process. The court's ruling, Roberts added, rested on a fair reading of the record before us, adding that record contained undeniable evidence of Alabama's extensive history of repugnant racial and voting